So one of the ships that I didn't really fly often, although I used the previous variant of it, I used to fly the Barghest a lot. That ship was used in PvP, but the Barghest has kind of been replaced, at least in my case, with the Anubis. Now, the Anubis is overall a good ship. I believe recently it got changed, not exactly recently, but I believe the ship was buffed in a way. I just forgot what buffs exactly, but I know that this ship has been improved a little bit. Not only the ship, but the other newer faction battleships have received the same treatment. Now the stats and the overall skill bonuses of the Anubis are very similar to the Barghest. Overall, it is a slight upgrade over the Barghest. It is the same good old Mordu ship though. You get the same crazy fast missiles, and you do get a very good damage application on the missiles. Now, one of the things that I personally dislike about the Mordu ships is the fact that they don't have good capacitors and they are very squishy. They have no tank. They are very easy to destroy. Now, because of that, I kind of imagine this ship to be used as a sniper, and as you will see in this video, you can get some very good range on this ship. When I say good range, you can get up to 500-600 kilometer range with ease, and you don't even need to have fancy implants to do that. You can obviously get an implant. In my case, my best implant is Bombard. I don't have any good implants for missiles or any other weapons at the moment. I have some that I just left there in case I decide to use that, but most of that is going to go to the Bombard, and Bombard will remain one of my only implants, besides the defense implant that's also decently leveled up. Now, as for the build, as I mentioned before, I wanted to use the ship primarily as a sniper. I no longer like to fly the Barghest or Anubis for closer range, particularly because they're so big. They're obviously slow ships. But if you can get a tackle to tackle stuff for you, and you can easily just warp at 100 km and just burn away, you have a lot of range. You can reach 200 km without any active missile module active, which is very decent, I would say, and does make the Barghest kind of a very good sniping ship. I mean, that's kind of the sole purpose of it. It even has a sniper tactical module, which, by the way, is definitely not my favorite tactical module. The one thing I dislike is it does reduce your overall total DPS. It does have some benefits, but it makes the ship slow. It pretty much cripples your DPS. And you know, with a larger ship like the Barghest, for example, it's a battleship after all, it might not be too bad, but with the Chameleon, for example, yeah, not exactly a module that I personally would use on a vast majority of ships that can fit this module. On cruisers and frigates, I would definitely not use this module, because with smaller ships you kind of want to get that mobility, you want to be fast. With a battleship, it's already huge, it's already slow. If it does lose some speed, it's not going to make much of a difference, really. That would be my complaint about that sniper module. For example, the old battle mode and the rapid firing module, for example, is decent, and it doesn't really slow down your ship. It does have some other drawbacks, but the drawbacks aren't as bad as what you get with the sniping module, with the sniping tactical module. Now, let me just quickly show the range, and 168 km, which is by default is not bad at all. It's very good range. Basically, I can immediately start using this ship for a PvP, just warp at 100 km from Battleship and just launch the missiles, which does make the use for this ship very safe. 201 km now, which again is still very good, and we can still increase the range even more. 252 km with the module active, which again is very good. you have very fast missiles, so it's not going to take too long for the missiles to impact the target. And 467 kilometer, that's pretty much going into the extremes now when it comes to range. And yeah, you can get more if you like, but a build like this, if you have a tackle hull for example, you should be for the most part safe. It's going to be even better if you have a decently leveled up missile implant, which should be pretty good if leveled up. You can swap between all sorts of different damage types for the missiles and stuff like that. But as a drawback with the tactical module, you do lose a little bit of DPS. I'm not a fan of that. You get alpha damage, but you lose a little bit of DPS. As I mentioned before in the past, I am not a fan of losing DPS, but you know, it's a sniping ship, so kind of acceptable, but in my personal experience, I didn't really see that do much. You already have good range without it, that's what I'm trying to say. So if you don't want to use the tactical module, you can use pretty much any other module that you want. After all, that module is not entirely reserved for the special module. You can put anything that you like over there, but the special module is kind of unique for the Barghest and some other ships. Now, since the range is a little bit into the extreme, you can obviously swap the build in whatever way you like. You can get and add more DPS, you can add more range, you can add more utility. It really depends on what you want to do with the ship. In my case, I think, in my case, I will probably keep the first build that I show you, or maybe I will use this build, because again, I already have good range, and if I really want extra range, I can just use the tactical module at the end of the day. So overall, designed to be used with a tackle. Now, it does have some very good range itself with points and scramblers. After all, it is a Mordu ship. They have a bonus on scrambler strength and the disruptor range. You get 5 points per scrambler on the Barghest, or 6 if you're using the Predator scrambler, although I don't know if anyone is using that module. It's quite on the pricey side of things, but if you really want to use the Predator scrambler, you can, and it does give you 6 points per scrambler. You have 5-6 slots. If you want to make a very funny tackle ship, you can. The Barghest is one of the best tackle battleships because of the bonuses that it gets on the scramblers. If you have a Death Wish core, for example, you can get, I think, up to 11 or 12 points per scrambler, and you can fit like 6 of them. Yeah, that's a lot of points on one ship. If you want an ultimate tackle, you can do that. I don't think there is any other ship that can do that besides the Barghest and the Anubis. If there is a Death Wish for the Ortrus could probably do something similar for a cruiser class, because the Ortrus also has 5 medium slots. It does get the same bonus as well, so you probably can achieve the same thing with the Ortrus for a cruiser class. And for a DPS, yeah, I mean, not the highest DPS because I don't have an Anarchor equipped, and obviously not a highly leveled implant, but you know, it gets the job done. I'm not going to complain. It will probably still do well. I have an Anarchor somewhere for it that I might use. I think it's a Deathwish Anarchor, so I will not have a problem with tackling anything. However, there is the issue with the Barghest. I guess, again, it's paper. It doesn't have any tank. And not really a issue. You can use this thing for solo if you like. It will probably work really well for solo if you have a decent skills for it, if you have a decent Anarchor for it, and if you have an implant for it. But you have to keep in mind that it's a very pricey ship, expensive target, and you must be careful not to get attention from other players that will also hunt around. Because let me tell you, I destroyed a bunch of Anubis battleships. They're tasty ships. I think the highest one was like 37 or 40 billion that I caught. It was a decent one a couple months ago at this moment. But yeah, if there is a thing that I enjoy more than flying this thing, it's actually having it in my log, because it's very nice to look at having a 40 billion ISK male just sitting there. especially for the Battleship. And these things are on the rare side. I don't see them often. I do see them occasionally. I just don't see them often. For the most part, I see the other Mordu ships floating around, the Garmur and the Ortrus. I see them a lot. The Ortrus is a legendary ship, one of my favorites. Unfortunately, one of the things that they done with these ships, with the overall capacitor nerf, indirect capacitor nerf, because of the way the McWobrev and Afterburner works, they draw much more power now because they cycle faster. And that's one of the things that kind of sealed the deal with me when I flew the Ortus. If they didn't touch that, if the old cycle time was still applicable and applied to the Afterburner McWobrev, I would probably still use the Ortus. But Bombard, for example, implants and the change on some modules kind of pushed me out of flying the Mordu ships a lot. I mean, I don't fly these things at all nowadays. I used to fly them every day a couple of years ago. That's pretty much what sealed the deal with me. Implants, I would say, were the final nail in the coffin for me when it comes to Mordu ships, because Bombard. I mean, why would I use missiles when I can use Bombard and just delete the Battleship in 1.2 seconds? I blink and it's already in hull. Why would I use a missile implant when I can use Bombard? I mean, depending. I mean, the missile implant isn't weak, obviously. The missile implant is very strong. It's just that the way drones work and the way the Bombard works, it's one of the OG implants that hasn't been changed when it comes to damage output. Other implants have been changed in one way or the other. Bombard stays the same for now, and kind of pushed me into the drones, and I am primarily using drones as my main weapon system, and will be my main weapon system for the foreseeable future, because honestly I don't see a reason to change into anything else at the moment. I do have skills for other weapons, but the drones are my main type of weapon at the moment, and will stay. Now, after changing all sorts of modules and after changing weapons, the rapid missile launchers do have good range. You can still snipe with them. The rapid missiles, the Lapidage missiles, are good for medium-sized ships, battle cruisers, maybe frigates, but they have more damage application, less overall damage, and they're not suitable for the larger ships. But for the smaller ships, yeah, rapid missiles will do really well. And then you have the torpedoes, which are primarily used against big ships, battleships, capitals, and you can technically use them against battlecruisers because they're kind of classified as larger, medium-sized ships.
Docking request accepted.
But yeah, overall, I would probably use the cruise missiles and the rapid missiles on this ship. Torpedoes maybe in some cases, but if I want to use this ship for sniping, and you can do that very easily, you can actually snipe with torpedoes or rapid missiles. It will work really well, but I would probably use cruise missiles on this ship, just because of that extra range. We'll have some good damage, alpha damage, and overall I think this ship is kind of meant to be used with cruise missiles. So I will probably end up using cruise missiles at the end of the day, depending on the target. Sometimes I might switch to rapids again. It's good to have the build flexible so you can switch between fits depending on what target you have. I started to usually carry my build. I usually carry my build now in the car hold for all of my ships. Whenever I go roam or do something, I carry a bunch of different builds with me, just in case if I need to swap, change, repair the ship, or even have more DPS, more tank. I come prepared now. Everywhere where I go, I am prepared for whatever is thrown at me. And my DPS used to be higher. I admit my DPS on this ship used to be higher, but I think because I changed my skills a little bit, I probably didn't put all of the old skills back into missiles. Ironically, I have medium missiles maxed out, large missiles, nope, apparently not maxed out, but it will do just fine. It does give an example of what you can expect approximately with my current skills here. My best skills are for turrets, drones, and I think medium missiles, and everything else is kind of usable but not perfect. Now, for a PvE build, I would personally recommend rapid missiles, or I would recommend cruise missiles. I will use torpedoes just to see if it's doable, but with the Anubis I would keep medium to long range only. I wouldn't be using torpedoes for PvE, definitely not for for laboratory missions or something like that, I would go long range for the vast majority of missiles. Actually, for the vast majority of missions, I would go long range. If you play this ship properly in low sec, you can even run storylines because of the extreme range. You can snipe from a very far distance, and you are not going to get tackled if you're paying attention. Because if you're moving and if you're doing manual orbit at a very far distance, nothing will be able to land directly on top of you very easily. Of course, that's where the moving part is important. For storylines, a micro warp drive long range kite build is what I would use for the Anubis or for the Barghest. If you can snipe for 300-400 kilometers, nothing will be able to get to you close that easily. They can double warp, but by the time they warp, you can already warp out. So it's surprisingly one of the more safer ships to use in low sec if you know how to fly it properly. Now, for the ship's overall combat experience, I think I used it a limited time for PvP. I forgot to check the kill marks on the Anubis. It should have like 10 or so. I think I used it a little bit for some expensive ships in the past, or was that the Barghest? I know I caught a 10 billion Macarial like a couple years ago with the I think it was the Anubis actually, or the Barghest. I'll have to double check that, but I know I got some pretty expensive ships with it. Now, as mentioned before, the torpedoes will not apply good damage to the smaller ships, and yeah, that's going to be obviously noticeable. You can minimize that by using the implants. However, swapping, I understand in some cases why players don't really like the warhead charge, even though I would say out of all the missile implants, the warhead charge is probably the most consistent one DPS wise, and I would say probably the most not exactly balanced, but I personally enjoyed that implant a lot on the test server when I tried out on all sorts of different ships. I enjoyed it a lot. The way it applies damage, you can swap damage types. I personally like that. However, I would still like if we got actual ammo. You know, I remember they talked something about ammo. I don't know how long ago that was, but where's the ammo? I think we all remember the talk about ammo. And I think it was a Q&A a while ago now, but no ammo inside. No, I don't know what happened with that. It was supposed to be something like a script, right? And then apparently it was supposed to be actual ammo, but there is still no ammunition in the game for whatever reason. I don't know. To be honest, I haven't been following the development that closely. I've been reading the patch notes and stuff, but for the most part I've been playing a bunch of different games, so my attention is allocated in 3 different places. But if someone knows what happened with the ammo, do let me know, because I'm also confused. Should have been ammo a long time ago already, but still no ammo, unfortunately. In any case,
we're under attack.
The capacitor on this thing, all the things I want to talk about. The capacitor on Mordu ships is terrible. I tried in the past to get the Ortus to work, and I did manage to get the Ortus to work long before implants were a thing. I had the Ortus built as an active shield tank. I also had the Ortus as a full DPS. I tried all sorts of different Ortus builds, and at one point I primarily used the tank one with integrated tank rigs. It worked really well. The only ship class basically that were a problem were drone boats. Ironically, drone boats are still a problem now for different reasons, primarily being a bombard implant, but drones were the nemesis of Mordu ships. They gave me issues in the past. Any other ship you can deal with quite easily with Mordu ships, but drone boats, yeah, especially the tankier ones. They used to be problematic. They are still problematic with Mordu ships. there have been some exceptions to that rule. For example, a rattlesnake. My favorite targets with the Ortus were rattlesnakes because they used large drones, and large drones were not able to track you if you're moving very quickly. My Ortus was very fast, and a very good 40-kilometer orbit speed tank because the missiles would do little to no damage to you, and the drones would be chasing you around. The rattlesnake was one of the tastiest ships that you can find with the Ortus, and I still miss those days where I was able to take a cruiser out like that, like any cruiser pretty much, and just have a good old brawl with a battleship without worrying about being deleted off grid in 0.2 seconds because of some weird implant. Those were the days where Mordu ships really were shining. That was a long time ago. It was 2-3 years ago now. I forgot when the implants were released. I'm still very mad at the way implants have been added to the game years after release. And I can give them the benefit of the doubt that they tried to balance them out, and admittedly they did nerf a lot of them, changed all of them. However, it still makes me so confused to see Bombard stay the same way it is, and this is coming from someone who actively wants that implant maxed out, by the way. Just to prove a point, that's why I'm using it. Even to this day, that implant stays the same. It was changed once, like 2-3 years ago. I think the reload or something was adjusted, the reload time, and that's about it. That's pretty much about it for the Bombard. But yeah, I mean, the game is 5 years old soon, which is, or is it already 5 years old? Depending on how you count time, I guess. I've been playing technically since alpha. I have been invited for the alpha a long time ago, in 2018, 2019, on summer of that year. So I've been involved with the game for quite some time now. And there are good decisions that they made, there are bad decisions that they made. And I don't know what will happen until the anniversary. I think Titans. This is the talk of the town for years now. Titans. Yeah, I think it's plausible that we can see them on the anniversary of the game now. Summer is not that far off, to be honest. A couple more months, pretty much. But I'm firmly, I know something. I know a thing or two. That's what I'm saying. Probable that we see Titans on the anniversary. I mean, that's already talked about last year and the year before. It's nothing new, really. Titans have been postponed like twice now, I think. Once or twice they have been not cancelled, but postponed, delayed for the future. So I think the time for their release is actually getting pretty close. But if the test server is there, I'll play Titans, obviously, when they are released. I mean, it's inevitable, really. Eve is not Eve without Titans, and they're ships that are not that far off now. But yeah, overall, I'm personally happy with the Anubis. It's a little bit tricky to fly this thing, honestly, but hopefully I do give the ship some action. Looking to get the ship some action. I kind of want to use it. I've been using the Dominic's Navy. It's a good ship. I will use the Dominic's Navy, obviously. I mean, I didn't get Bombard just to look at it. I got Bombard to use it. So I will keep using the Dominic's Navy and I'll use the Bombard. This thing will be used with the current whatever level it is of the of this current implant that I have, of the working charge. I don't know what level it is, but it's there, so I can use it if I need it. I think it's like green one, actually. I forgot. It's been there, not for a very long. Actually, it's been there for a very long time. I bought the implant for the Ortus. Kind of funny. I spent ISK for that implant, yet I never really fully used it because, again, I just went with Bombard. And for now, Bombard will probably stay my personal, not favorite implant, because I don't like, I don't really like OP things. I'm using it just to prove a point that it's broken, so that it gets nerfed and fixed. As I mentioned before, one of the things that I care about the most is balance in this game, and Bombard is kind of pushing that a little bit to the limits, or should I say pushing it above the limit. But yeah, with that being said, tell me what you think about Anubis, or tell me what you think about Mordu ships in general. Do you fly them? Do you used to fly them? Do you plan to fly them? Which one of these ships is your favorite? And I might even blow the dust off my Ortus and see what I can do with that thing. But yeah, we are nearing the end of the video here. If you would like to support me, feel free to like and subscribe. And with that being said, stay safe, fly safe, and as always, I'll see you next time.
Autopilot engaged. Warp drive active.